Yeah. Clap. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay, this episode is brought to you by Rachel GEEK, just because I'm wearing the sweater that she gave me.
And cool tongue tricks.
Look at... Whoa! Is that Clover shit? Oh. Bro.
Wow.
She's a lizard person, you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I would never...
This means I got sweet tricks, if you know what I mean. Just kidding. Wink.
Oh, you're... Oh.
Y'all can fucking tie cherry stems and, well, I can do a clover.
I can do this. I can't do shit. I can't do shit. I can't even roll my tongue. It's so short and tiny.
Like, you can't do that?
Mm-mm. How do you curve it?
No. I need my tongue.
I can't. Okay. Anyways.
So.
Rachel GEEK Music on Instagram. She has some dope music, and check her out.
Alive and well.
Yeah, she's alive and well. She's been through some shit, and she writes incredible music.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But also racism.
Yeah. So of course anybody is gonna be like, yeah, well, you're privileged because you are white. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like I can accept that, you know, because I'll accept that because I know that there are still a lot of racist people out there. But I will just put a little side note that I have a different perspective on racism. And so does Amanda because of where we grew up. I grew up in Prince Albert, which there are a lot of,
Yeah. You gotta talk to Blue.
Blue, sorry, bro. So I grew up in PA. Amanda grew up in North Battleford, which is really, there's a lot of, what do we call them? Like, what do they want to be called nowadays? Indigenous people,
I don't even know what the term
Native.
right
Yeah, like they change it all the time. So like.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, there was a lot of like reserves and stuff in the area. I worked on a lot of reserves, and quite frankly, like I've always treated people very nicely, but like they've been really racist towards white people too, and like we all have to do a little bit better in this department. I will admit that, but it does happen to white people too. So don't kid yourself in thinking that it's just white people that are inflicting racism. It's a two-way street. We all need to do better, and we need to get out of that victim mentality too as well, and quit hiding behind that, and move on and do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was a victim of racism when I was young because I was the only one of like maybe 3 other white girls in an entire school. I had moved from the Catholic system to the public system, and it was a very heavily Native populated school, and they didn't like me because I was white. I was the white girl, and I got beat up every day by Trista Benson, and I'm just gonna name drop because fuck them, but like the Baptiste girls, the fucking Capisawats, the Bensons, they all were coming after me at school. I couldn't walk home without getting beat up. I would get grabbed by my backpack and dragged down the street. Like, it was fucking insane what they would do to me. And just the same as like, so in North Battleford, often we would travel to Sweetgrass or to Red Pheasant or to Little Pine for basketball tournaments. And the Red Pheasant girls on the reserve basketball team would chase down our bus and throw rocks at it and be like, fucking white girls and whatever. And what they would beat us up on the basketball court and use like, you know, the sport of basketball to like beat us up, bully us. Yeah. And so they'd be like, fuck you, white girl, and like push you and like stuff like that. Now, do I hate Native people? No, I love them. I have so many, like, okay, maybe I don't have so many Native friends anymore, but as, you know, it wasn't until I fought back that they became my friend. And yeah, then I became friends with some of them. And, you know, I still have some Native friends now, and I know that there's huge diversity in their culture and race. And I don't hold any animosity. Like, I don't hate all Native people because they beat me up my whole life. Like, not my whole life, but for a period of time. So yeah, that's my experience with like racism. But
yeah, no, similar things growing up in PA. I grew up in the West Flat. Well, that's where my first memories start. And then we moved over to the East Flat. And they ended up building like a condominium type building, just a block, kind of like half a block behind our house. And yeah, like they moved in, and like I couldn't even walk to the store anymore. They would sick their dogs on me. They would throw rocks at me. They would moon themselves, indecent exposure to me. Yeah, like pulling their pants down. And it's just like I was like 10, 11 at the time, like gross. Just a lot of that shit. And yeah, like rocks and being beat up, being pushed down, name calling. And I mean, like at the time, like I was pretty, and like I guess the part that like was really frustrating is that like I grew up around a lot of Natives in the terms of like with family friends and stuff too. So my grandma's best friend was a Native lady. And my grandma even like, and my grandpa, they fostered Native kids, and we had one Native girl that we fostered, and I loved her. Like she was a little bit handicapped, but we were like best friends. She was older than me, but with her handicapness, like she was kind of on my level. And we played a lot together, and like I didn't have any like, oh, like I think of you differently because your skin's different color than mine. Like it was never about that. And I feel like a lot more people need to recognize that like not all white people see people of color, see them by their color. Right. Or their heritage or where they come from. Like I see you as a person and who you are as a person, and I will judge you based on that, not by the skin color.
Just like Martin Luther King said, judge by the content of the character, not the color of the skin. And people who like obsess about treating people by the color of their skin, like you know, more buy from black people more, buy from these people more. No, let's not base anything on fucking race. Let's base it on quality, character, and like those things. Mm-hmm. Like, and yeah, I like before I went to this all Native school, we were going to the Catholic school, and there was a few Native kids there, and there was this deaf brother and sister, and my mom like taught them sign language, or like we learned sign language for them and from them, and they helped us with the garden. Like they were just they had kind of a rough home situation, so they would come to our house a lot and just hang out. And like I had a rough home situation too for a period of time, and like that's what I don't think people understand. Like people think, oh, this race is affected by not having like good structure at home, but like everyone in North Battleford has a bad home structure. It's all based on class. It's not based on race. It's based on class. We're all in the same class. We're all poor. I'm poor. You're poor. You know, like it's very much like we need to start looking at it that way, not based on the color, but based on class and yeah. So.
And then that, like, you know, like, so now there's all this, like, Black Lives Matter thing, and we're having a rally in Lloydminster for George Floyd, who was known to be, like, he was whacked out on drugs. Yes, the bill was counterfeit that he used. Granted, like, nobody's life should be taken from them. But, and they're like, oh, you know, it's, it should be God's will or whatever. But you know what? Maybe that was God's, like, in the end, wasn't that God's will? Like, maybe it was like, God was like, I can't help you anymore. Like, I can't help you anymore. You have to help yourself. And that's what happened. I don't know. Yeah. Like, I know they're probably going to get a lot of backlash on saying that, but like, if you're going to do shitty things, expect shitty outcomes.
Exactly. Yes, there are consequences to criminal activity, as there should be. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't like it if I came up and bitch slapped you and then the cops didn't do anything. No, like there has to be consequences for criminals. And sometimes when a criminal dies committing a crime, like it's shitty, but like don't commit crimes. Like, right? Like, okay.
It's sad, but
yeah, it's sad, but if you play stupid games, you're gonna win stupid prizes. Like, so, and that goes like, you know, we like don't see a lot of, you know, where we live, like discrimination against Black people, but there is a lot of discrimination against Natives, and that kind of brings us back to like a similar situation here close to home would be the yeah, that, you know, I mean, nobody's driving in someone's yard at, what was it, 5?
It was late at night. I don't remember, but it was the middle of the night, and they drove into a man's yard, and they were stuck or something. And anyway, a kid ended up getting shot by the landowner. Super tragic that kid died, but those kids had been terrorizing this rural area for some time.
and they were drinking and driving and were up to no good.
Yes, they were stealing. Like, why were they in his yard? They shouldn't have been in his yard to begin with. And again, like, I hate when anybody has to die. Like, I'm not an evil person that way. But again, you play stupid games, we know the outcome.
Yeah. So like it just kind of comes down to like, you know, like why it's not like it's innocent people dying. And yeah, granted, it's still sad. They're still human beings. And we should be trying to help them more. But I mean, and like, you got to think too, like when cops are in these like high intense, like, pursuits or like in these, intense situations, like when people are on drugs, we know, that they have like superhuman powers. So they have to assert appropriate, force to handle these situations. And it's sad when it happens, but like their lives are at risk as well when they're dealing with these people.
And I guess that wasn't even like, now that we're talking about it, that wasn't even a police incident. That was the landowner.
Yeah, I was kind of getting back to like the George Floyd, but the landowner thing too. But like that's like begs like the same thing. Like if I live out by myself, if someone came into my yard, I mean, I'm not playing no games. Like, I mean, it's my life or theirs. Yeah. And I mean, you're not welcome here. This isn't your land. This isn't your property. Why are you here? And why did they had weapons too, didn't they?
They had weapons. I don't remember specifically if you had a gun or not, but they
I know we
definitely
should
had
have done
weapons.
some more research on this before talking about
That's
this
okay.
particular incident.
But I mean,
The George Floyd thing, though, like, I watched most of that court case, and it was really disheartening to see how much of it was... So, like, the court case itself was done like a court case should be, but the way the media reported it was totally one-sided. They were they wanted Chauvin to be convicted, and he was, and maybe he should have been, whatever. That's not, that's that jury, not me. Yeah. But one of the things that they said in the trial was, or one of the things that they discovered is that when somebody is resisting arrest, you are to subdue them and hold them on the ground until an ambulance arrives, especially if they're acting really erratic like George Floyd was. So Derek Chauvin followed full protocol by kneeling on his shoulder, which if you watch the court case, you know that it was his shoulder, not his neck. But that was regular police protocol. Now, should they change their protocols so that maybe they don't kneel on somebody for 9 minutes? Yeah, maybe. That's something to look at. But if we keep taking this situation and saying he shouldn't have died and this means that cops kill all black people. No, it doesn't. Like, George Floyd had a criminal history. He was a big dude. Like, it takes a lot of people to subdue him, and when they got him down, they got to keep him down until the ambulance gets there. We've all seen the videos of all the drugs that he swallowed before all of this police stuff started happening. And did the drugs contribute to his death? Yes, like they said that in the trial. So I just don't understand the point of marching for criminals, especially in a city where we don't see black people get hurt by police at all. All of the black people in Lloydminster are like there's not very many, but they're like doctors and like lawyers and like podcasters,
higher class people.
Yeah, confidence makers. Like they're higher. Yeah, they are higher class people. Like, they're not committing fucking crimes. They're not. So
they don't have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like people, when they get pulled over by the cops, they think like and this goes into like that victim mentality. So if you have this victim mentality, or you have this like you're already on the defense because you know your skin color is different, and then the cop comes and you're already like being super defensive and vulgar in some cases, or not cooperative, because you think you're just pulled over because of your skin color. Like a lot of the times, like the cops, if they're behind you, they don't know what color your skin is, man. Like just comply. Like they're enforcers of the law. Yeah. So if they pulled you over, likely there's a reason, and like, why get excited about it? Just comply and it would be a lot easier.
Yeah. Like Christian Walker always says, he is a black man and he hates Black Lives Matter because they are so ridiculous. They're always defending and marching for criminals who are getting killed.
And it's putting more and more people on the defense. It's not helping anything. It's escalating the situation more.
So like Christian Walker gets pulled over for being on his cell phone, and he's like, yep, here's my license and registration. Like, I'm sorry, officer. And then this other lady, there's a video of her getting pulled over, and she's like, you're a murderer, please. And he's like, whoa, ma'am, you were on your phone while you were driving. Like, here's your ticket. Like, get out of here.
Well, and let's just like talk a minute here about like, so there was a black lady that ran over and killed a police officer that was trying to help another person that had just gotten into a bad accident. And I think some of the people in that accident had passed away, I think, and there was a survivor, and they were there trying to help them, and someone came through the barricades, ran over a cop, was driving erratically, was high, had been drinking, and had smoked weed as well. And at the time, I think she was like saying, fuck you, fuck the police, essentially. And then when she got arrested, she's like, I'm sorry for killing a policeman. Like, but there's no like, I have hardly seen any coverage about that. Why isn't that blowing up?
Why isn't that blowing up? Like,
you can't
Google it. Like, lady driving drunk. She finishes a podcast saying fuck the police, drives drunk, runs over a fucking police officer, and then she's in handcuffs like, I'm sorry that I killed him. And it's like, you people who create this animosity constantly, you're inviting this animosity into your life. I'm sorry, you are. Like, stop. We're like, if we all united, man, we could do so much. Like, it just kills me. It just kills me how stupid it all is.
Yeah, it is. And it's causing a lot of division, which is really sad, because that's not what we need. We all need to come together.
And critical race theory is banned in the United States for a reason. Critical race theory is essentially a Klan meeting. It's all about white people. White people did this, white people did that. It's literally a history lesson in white people. We don't want to learn about white people. We should be learning about other cultures and stuff like that, not discussing why everybody is a victim of white people. That's ridiculous. And like,
you're just fueling more and more hate.
And if you think we're way off base on this, I just think you should look up Blexit, which is black exit. It's black people who exited like the whole racism thing. And then there's a bunch of actual groups of like black people who are very against Black Lives Matter. And I know that I'm only saying that because I'm white and people won't respect my opinion on this, but like, that's what it is. Like, we're not the only people who share this sentiment, and more people need to stand up and be like, hey, when criminals fuck around and shit happens, we need to stop marching for them. Fuck that.
Horrifying.
Like Jacob Blake. We have 1 minute left, but Jacob Blake was fucked.
And what's her Breonna Taylor.
Same thing.
Yeah, initially it was like, oh, they weren't supposed to be there. No, they were supposed to be there because they had a drug warrant, and she had pictures with guns and shit and trying to act like a fucking thug.
And they shot at the police, so the police shot back. Like, how is that anyone else's fucking fault but your own? You chose your fate.
And yeah, cops are supposed to have training and stuff too, but I mean, like, when you're put in those high intense situations, like a lot of your training, that's just, it goes out the door and it's shitty. But like that's like, it's like first aid and stuff too. Like, do you remember everything that you learned from first aid when someone's having a heart attack? No, you don't really, unless like you don't deal with those situations day after day after day.
Exactly, and with that, just think about it. Okay?
Think about it.
Ooh. Oh, fucking stop.